Hello. Today we are going to talk about how to implement a high quality nap routine. Nap is a part of our day and it is typically right after lunchtime. Um, as children have been busy all morning, our toddlers can barely get through lunch to get to nap. Um, and our older kids need the rest. So, it is really important that the children do get quality rest throughout the day. It sets the mood for the afternoon. Highly, highly important. So let's talk about how we implement a high quality nap routine at Imagination Station Learning Centers. So, the purpose of talking about this is just to make sure that we are setting a peaceful nap time mood. It should never be a strict, stern, you gotta sleep kind of mood. It's the responsibility of every teacher at our schools, whether you are subbing or you are the regular teacher in a classroom, to implement a high quality and consistent, which is key, nap routine. So, the first, we're going to talk about the procedure of what happens at nap. So, the procedure starts with how are we going to lay the children down for nap time? So we always want to, not just with nap time, but any part of our day, we want to give them a heads up. So we want them to know what's coming next. And we want to make sure we're consistent in this throughout our day. So, okay, friends, in 5 more minutes, we're going to get ready for nap time. Same thing with we're going to get ready for morning circle time. In 5 minutes, we're going to get ready for the next activity. So we always want to give kids a heads up because they could be finishing something up and we don't want to interrupt them. If you interrupt them and you don't give them the warning, it's just ready to set yourself up for chaos. So make sure you give them the warning. And then we're going to lay out all of the cots. It is important to know that our state regulations do say that cots have to be 2 feet apart and children cannot be facing the same way. So we do not want little Johnny to have his head up here and little Sam, who's 2 feet away, to have his head up here. That is not high quality and it's not okay with our state regulations. So we want to make sure little Johnny's head is up here and then we're going to have little Sam's head down here at the feet. So we want to make sure it's head to toe whenever we are napping children on cots. So we're going to set those out at 2 feet apart. I highly, highly recommend that the cots are labeled with names that can be erased or changed easily and that you have a cot map in your classroom. And a cot map is just a piece of paper that shows everybody that might be coming into your classroom where the children sleep consistently every day. So we also know that little Johnny's a chatterbox. And if we put little Johnny next to little Sam, those two are going to try to get off their cots and chat it up and do all sorts of things. So we want to make sure that we're not having those two sleep next to each other. So just putting that cot map out does help keep consistency in your room, and it helps a sub or whoever might be coming in to know where the cots should be going. Um, Next, we're going to allow children a few minutes on their cots before the lights are turned out. That way they have time to get settled. I typically, when I'm in an older classroom, I typically will have everybody go to their cots. And while I'm cleaning up from lunch and the children are going potty one at a time and I'm calling their names to go potty, the other children are getting settled on their cots during that time. You also want to turn on an audiobook or soft nap time music. Your music should not be heard in the hallway. Sometimes when I walk down the hallways, I hear like blaring music, and I'm like, well, no wonder the kids can't sleep. So, your music should not be able to be heard in the hallway. Soft audiobooks or meditation books work as well. Then we're going to go ahead and lower the lights. So when lights are lowered, voices are lowered. And teachers, this means you too, because if you're walking around and being loud, they're not going to settle either. So lead by example, lights lowered, voices lowered. And then we also just like to make sure that um, everybody is being covered up and we're reassuring, we're nurturing, we're letting them know, good night, little Johnny. I'm so glad you were in my class today. We all need to get our rest so that we have energy for this afternoon because sleeping gives us energy for the rest of the day. Kind of reassuring them in a calm tone, letting them know what's going on, letting them know that we want to get our rest. Um, and then we're also walking around while we're doing this, we're walking around and making sure that nobody's blanket is touching the floor. So heads cannot be covered and blankets cannot touch the floor. Those are big licensing rules that they do look for whenever they come in. So we want to make sure that that's all okay. Um, okay, so after nap time, let's talk about waking up. So when we wake up, we're going to turn on the lights slowly. Then we're going to gently wake kids up. We don't want to go through, okay, guys, it's time to get up. Let's go. That is going to set anybody off in a bad mood, including me. So we want to make sure we're calm. We're gently waking children up, letting them wake up on their own. All cots must be sanitized and put away after nap time. Nap items must be put away in children's book bags, backpacks. Um, Teachers can help children with this, but as they get older, we want them to learn to be independent. However, teachers, if you have a bunch of pre-K kids and all their stuff is kind of shoved in their cubbies and nothing's fitting right, go back through and make sure it's organized and help them because their items can't be touching. We want to make sure everything's organized for when they go home and they have everything. Um, and making sure that all their personal items are returned to their cubby. If you have cubbies in the hallway for whatever reason, you need to make sure that children do not go into the hallway by themselves because that's not considered supervising. So if your cubbies are in the hallways, you would have to line up all your children with all of their nap items and then go into the hallway all together. So keep that in mind. Some related resources as far as a high quality nap time. I know we talked about the cots being at least 2 feet apart, but infant cribs, when children are in them and sleeping, those have to be 3 feet apart. So keep that in mind. And then if possible, do the same head to toe laying instead of the children facing each other because we don't want to spread germs. And those cribs do have just the side railings. They're not completely blocked off. So we want to make sure those are 3 feet apart at least. And if possible, they're not facing each other so they don't get those germs. Also important to note that cots, cribs, all of that can never block any doorway. So you have to have a clear emergency exit. So if you have a playground door in your room, you cannot have a cot that is blocking that playground door because it's a fire code hazard. Another related resource to kind of keep in mind is nap time music is not a radio station and it is not loud, annoying music. Music should be soft and soothing and nurturing. Make sure that your children know your nap time expectations. It is not mandatory to sleep. No child should feel like they've done something wrong if they haven't fallen asleep. Every child does have to stay on their cot until nap time is over. We do not have children up and walking around, whether they are 1-year-olds or 5 years old. They do have to stay on their cot the entire nap time. For the younger ones, this probably means laying them back down over and over until they get the hang of things. And for the older ones, they need to be directed to stay on their cots. After 30 minutes, if children are not falling asleep, they may be given a book or a quiet nap time activity. but we do not give those until 30 minutes of them trying to fall asleep, because if you do, they're never going to sleep. But they have to be able to do those quiet activities on their cot. They cannot be up walking around and disturbing other children's sleep. Let's talk about also nap time expectations for the teachers. So it is important to walk around and comfort and check on the children, make sure they're breathing, make sure their face isn't covered, making sure their blanket isn't touching the floor. Um, and then sitting by children who may need some gentle reminders, or with younger ones, maybe patting their back softly and quietly. Should never hear you patting a child's back. Should be nice and soft. Um, be aware of the children and immediately meet their needs if needed. Be quiet. Don't have a bunch of people coming into your classroom at nap time just to eat their lunch and chat. That is not okay. Um, it is not your social hour. It is your time to get other things done that need to be done. And then if you are in the classroom subbing or just giving a teacher lunch break, there is always cleaning that needs to be done. You should never be on your phone. You should be either attending to the children and making sure their nap time is positive, or you should be working on school work projects, um, helping a lead teacher do any kind of prep that they may need. Maybe they left something for you to do, to cut out or to do. If not, there is always cleaning, organizing. You should never just be kind of sitting there and taking that as your personal break time, because it's not. You are on the clock and you do need to be actively engaged and completing work stuff. So hopefully this helps you kind of get an idea of what a quality nap time routine looks like. And hopefully we can see those routines in action in our schools very soon. If you have any questions, always reach out to your school director. And we look forward to seeing how your high quality nap time routine works out in your classroom.